Hello, everyone. Welcome to MD Media Show. Today, I'm happily joined by Charlotte Tuati from Switzerland. We'll be talking about extracting minerals and exacting justice, Western mining companies in the Horn of Africa. This is a very important topic, and thank you for joining us today. And those who are following us on satellite in the Horn of Africa as well, on online on UMD Media's YouTube channel. Charlotte, welcome. First, let me start by thanking you for the work you do in terms of letting people know, be aware what's going on in many countries, many areas, in terms of mining, in terms of as well, a very important topic. We'll reserve it for another day. The Gaze manuscripts and related topics. I'm interested in that as well. So, but today we'll be talking about mining and justice and the Western mining companies. First off, if you can take a minute or two to introduce what you do and in terms of which university you are affiliated with and so on.
So thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the invitation. So yes, so currently I'm an affiliate researcher with the University of Lausanne, Switzerland. Initially, I'm a philologist. I'm a specialist of ancient manuscript, in Gaze manuscript, but also Coptic. And I also specialize a little bit later in the geopolitics and security studies. And now I am advocating for what's going on, for making known the Tigray genocide and what is going on in the Horn. As well, I try to write quite a lot and to speak, especially in Europe and in French-speaking area, but about the Horn and the war. And starting 2 years ago to write a book on the mining companies and their action in the Horn, especially in Eritrea, Tigray, and Sudan, and all the implications for the Red Sea arena. And it is now currently in the editing process, so we'll be coming forth in 2025. So.
Great. Now I look forward to reading the forthcoming book, and maybe we'll also have an opportunity to discuss about that once it's out. I know as well you were part of this important Remember Tigray VR. Can you just take a...
Yes, that's true. This is another part of my work. In 2021, I began to work with victims of weaponized rape. I was documenting these war crimes, especially among the refugees, Tigrayan refugees in Sudan. The goal was to file a complaint and for war crime. So that's why I was documenting that. So I hear a lot of stories, but our initiatives come short due also to political problem. Maybe we will relaunch our legal action, but for now I decided to write a script about the story I heard, and so I meet this wonderful team with Ryan Souza and Tedros Jebelai, and we made this virtual reality film that we are showing in, especially in Parliament. We have many projects, and we probably will come in Canada also, and in universities, and we hope to show it to as many people as possible, just to advocate, to make people know. And this is an immersive experience to also to show the different side and to hear the voice of the survivor.
A very important initiative, given that, as we know, the politics is going in, uncharted territory in terms of what Mekelle and Addis Ababa Asmara might do, and so on. So the victims should be at the center of everything we do. Very important. So let's talk about the topic extracting minerals and exacting justice. First off, maybe if you go back to 2000 and 2018, before the new government came to power, Abiy Ahmed came to power in Addis Ababa. What is your reading of what was happening? And maybe I know the Goes manuscript research, the Coptic, all that is happening, but how were you involved in terms of your interest in the mining and
Yeah.
what was happening in the Horn?
Yes, in fact, I wrote a part of my PhD thesis on alchemical corpus in Upper Egypt and then in Nubia. So I studied. It was not at this time or the oldest manuscript. It is not about magic like in the alchemy during the Middle Age of modern era. It's more technical and philosophical. So I have this knowledge about extracting mine in a artisanal way. And after that, as I said, I continue to work on the history more on Ethiopia and the manuscript in Ethiopia. And when I hear what was going on with the gold in Tigray, especially, and in Eritrea, I thought I could pack together all that, both knowledge, and I hope it was quite productive. And also, I'm Swiss. I'm born in Switzerland, so I was aware of the gold circuits. We can talk about that maybe later. Also, I'm born at 10 kilometers of the main refinery, which was refining the gold of Bisha. So I thought I must have a look into this topic.
Great. So once you decide to look into this topic, what did you learn? I know in Canada there was a number of cases, both in terms of media, but also court and so on.
Exactly.
Maybe we might mention it later. So, what did you learn?
So the trial, and we will see, but maybe I can just begin with the kind of timeline, and we will see that the trial, the complaint filed by the Eritrean refugees, was absolutely key in developing the hate speech against Tigray, and we will see how. Maybe I can just explain a little bit who are this company very shortly. After 2004, there was a reform in Eritrea of the mining law and the creation of ENAMCO, which is the Eritrean National Mining Corporation, which is a state agency to manage absolutely everything. It is directly under in the hand of the president. There were a lot of mining companies, especially Canadian and Australian, who were looking for buying a license in Eritrea during this decade, and but progressively the Canadian took everything, and in the end you nearly have Nefson and Sunridge, and we must be aware that it is not really the same company. They are both registered in Canada, and the people in the board are you can say playing musical seats. They are working in one company, in another, and so. There was the Australian Sub-Sahara, for example, was pushed out by the Sunridge. And there was another one which was called also Australian, which was called the South Border. They were interested in gold at the beginning, but there was a kind of agreement. So they let the gold to Nefson and Sunridge, and they reoriented themselves toward potash, the fertilizer. And after nearly 10 years, South Border will become Danakali, which is quite known to extract the potash in the Koluli mine. So in this year, we can see, yes, this is the map, we can see the main site. So what I was studying is not all the Western company working in this area called the Nubian Shield. extending on Eritrea, Tigray, a little bit more southward in Ethiopia and in Sudan, but some special companies, and I can follow some particular character for maybe 20 years and their action. They have direct action in political issues in the Horn. So in 2008 and 29, the Eritrean regime was at the edge of bankruptcy. The economy, the Eritrean economy was on the ground due to the grip of the regime on every business. So anyone who wants to make some income have to pass through the Idri Trust, or for the export, the Red Sea Corporation, which is based in Dubai. And so there is no business, no economy. Also, it was also due to the national service, because people just can't work. The farmer, the breeder, the fisher just can't do the proper work because they have to go to the military service, and they just can't. There is no economic network in the country. So the diplomats and also the UN were thinking that the regime would collapse, especially in 2009, because there was sanctions decided on Eritrea. So they are just waiting it just to fall. It was planned for maybe 2010 and 11, but in 2011, just a kind of miracle, the Bisha mine entered into production. And at this point, it was just millions of dollars who were raining over Eritrea, over the PFDJ officials, of course, because the population did not see any penny, of course. So in a way, we can say that Bisha mine saved the Isaias and the PFDJ. And at this point, they are completely solidary. And because the Bisha mine is exploited, but it's a joint venture between Nefsen and Enamco. So they share the income. Okay, so it lasts for 3 years, and in 2014, as you mentioned, 3 Eritrean refugees filed a complaint against Nefsen and Sunridge for forced labor, inhuman treatment, and other gross human rights violation. At this point, the guys at Nefsen decided to defend themselves, and they hired Todd Roman, which will become the frontman of Nefsen. And they choose not to say, we were not aware of anything, we will change. Yes, you can see the kind of defense. No, they choose to say, okay, this is just not what we are thinking. This is not forced labor. This is not modern slavery. This is just another kind of society. And you just don't understand what Eritrea is. And all the human rights defenders are just, Trojan horse of the West. And they want to destabilize the regime and the Horn. And they charge everything, the West, and especially the Americans, and so of trying to smear Eritrea. And they develop all a rhetoric, and they began to develop this. Some picture, and they begin to develop a speech against the West, and we know what is the Isaiah's discourse also against the Tigrayan. And they trying to they made all the problem of Eritrea was caused by the mainly Americans and the Tigrayan, and that they were working together. At this stage, it was the EPRDF, and then behind the TPLF, and then all the Tigrayans were all kind of CIA agents, and they wanted to just demonize the Eritrean. And for that, Todd Roman hired an English lawyer called Ruby Sandhu, And they began to make conferences. They were also making conference at the UK Parliament, in the US and Canada, just to defend Eritrea, not only to defend Nefson, but at the end, they were defending also the regime. And they also were fighting against the notion, the even notion of human rights. And we have, I should have sent you this picture. You have Todd Romain, Ruby Sandhu, and Bronwyn Britton at a young PFDJ meeting in Las Vegas. So they were really speaking for the party. At this moment, they began to hire lobbyists. This is what I call the first round of lobbyists to defend Isaias. And it is documented. Nefson gave money to the Athletic Council, to which Bronwyn Britton was the deputy director. And they led this campaign. It lasted till the 2018, and we can see at this point. I will come back on this kind of propaganda spreading. So, Sunridge was finally sold to a Chinese company. Danakali, the potash mine, became closer and closer to Nefson. Finally, the old rivalry between the Australian and Canadian resumed. And they changed their, yes, as I told you, the Danakali is a very secretive company. They don't show any picture. We don't know. They are quite special in the handling of the business and what they want to show. They control their image a lot, and they changed the CEO. It became Seamus Cornelius, which is someone very, very special. You can see he has very. Voilà. He's not only a businessman; he has also an ideological agenda. He's very close. Honestly, yeah, he works for 13 years in China. And so they became closer. And in 2018, there was a change of government in Ethiopia. And so they began to be planning to expand their activity on the other side of the border, in Tigray and in Afar for the potash. And but we can show, yes, we have this map. So maybe yes, they had a special meeting it was in February 2018 in Geneva. This is this event. At the UN. It was organized directly by the Eritrean consulate in Geneva. It's the permanent mission to the UN. And they were both. So we have Todd Romain and Seamus Cornelius. So the main from respectively Nefson and Danakali. And they were already planning a kind of federation between Eritrea and Ethiopia, but it was in February. So Haile Mariam Desalegn already resigned, but Abiy Ahmed was not already prime minister. But they were already planning that the border will, in a way, fall. And they were selling the idea of plant on both sides of the border, and that's the mine in Ethiopia could be exploited, and the ores and the minerals sent in a new port at Anfield Bay or to Massawa, also directly through the Eritrean port. But the peace agreement was not signed yet. So Abiy Ahmed came to power. We know there was this the negotiation during the 2018 summer. We know, and we come back, the implication of Anagachev Sige, for example, during the springs to May, the go between Eritrea and Ethiopia. So the Amhara supremacists were already in the loop. But I will come back on this topic, speaking about the No More movement. So he's in the loop. In July, Abiy Ahmed visits Asmara. On the very day, he spoke to Antonio Guterres to have the sanction lifted on Eritrea. As I will say, Antonio Guterres have direct relationship with Ana Gomez and also Advocacy and the guys of ESA TV. And Guterres pushed to have the sanction lifted, but it was not official. And 2 weeks later, Danakali registered to be listed on the London Stock Exchange. So you can't be listed in a country under sanctions. So they at Danakali, they already know what was going on. So they were in the loop of the negotiation. And we know that in this negotiation, the invasion of Tigray was also planned. So but they already know something. And on the 5 September, and in the 5 September, this was the day of the officialization of the tripartite, I don't know how to pronounce that, agreement. So the Somali presidents, the Eritrean and the Ethiopian Prime Minister were visiting the plants and the ports, and they were waving the hand on to a boat full of Bisha copper who was sailing to China. And this very day, the 5 September, the day they were signing the tripartite agreement, Nefson asked all his shareholders to sell all the share to a Chinese company, the very Chinese company who was buying the copper. So they were all in the, honestly, they knew. And the Jeddah agreement, who will, yes, make the peace real between Ethiopia and Eritrea, was signed a little later. So we can see they were aware of all the negotiation, and they were always aware that they will sell all the mine to the Chinese. It was planned, and also that the sanctions were lifted, and their goal it was to use the Eritrean port to exploit the mine in Ethiopia. So maybe they could so think that the border will vanish in a peaceful way, or they were aware of the invasion of Tigray, and the Shire mine was a kind of, it was a kind of condition, yes, to, I don't know, when you took something during the war, I don't know, the prise de guerre in French, I don't know exactly how to say that in English.
Is that the loot?
It's not looting because it's quite official, but it was the price, in fact. It was the kind of, yes, the award of all this kind of good relationship between all these guys. And and this is just for the factual events. If you allow me, I can come back and just to explain how they were involved in all the more, I can say, soft power against the Tigrayan to finally reach their goal. So, and I told you, there's something really important happened when the sanctions were decided in 2009, and at this very date, you have the leader of the gunboat Sebat who were refugees, if I can say, in Asmara, and they were trained and they were and supported by Isaias. So all their hatred against the EPRDF and then TPLF and then the Tigrayans was integrated in the speech of Isaias. And also it was taken up also by the lobbyists of Nefson and Todd Homan. In this, during the trial of Nefson, there was also an activity of these lobbyists among the European politicians to have Advocacy, who was in jail in Ethiopia at this time, to have him him free, and also to smear the EPRDF. So it began at this time. It was in parallel, and especially Ada Gomez has very close tie with him, and she was very, very active at the European Parliament. And so this is this was for the first round, and after we have the second round of lobbyists, which started after the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power, and we have the same people who developed, they were reached by new ones like Anne Fitzgerald or Jeff Pierce and Garrison to develop the hate speech against the Tigrayan, and as I told you, in parallel, in fact, from 2014, the Russian network, Russia was developing its network in Africa, especially in Libya. They started in Libya, Sudan, and the Sahel. And this is where the crime syndicate of the PFDJ was developing, with gold, human beings, and arms. Smuggler were active. So we have the proof that all these networks were tied together. And the Russians started a kind of ideological war and misinformation war in Africa. And they found something already in the Nefson and Eritrean stuff. So they use it against the West, and they took the Tigrayan with. So as we already talked, and this rebroadcasted all the stuff developed by Nefson in their own network related to Wagner, for example, and I could identify also all the smearing campaign against the Tigrayans in Pan-Africanist, radical Pan-Africanist outlets in Mali, in Guinea-Bissau or Burkina Faso. And so we can say, yes, and we can say that it will develop finally in the No More movement. And the No More movement was endorsed by also Russian network, honestly. And we can say that he had some support. Now we can, yes, it's quite documented now. Here is just an example of, maybe it's not, I think it could be interesting for the audience, because maybe you don't know this kind of influencer, French-speaking influencer. Here is Kemi Seba. He's followed maybe by like 3 million people in French-speaking Africa and in France. He's violently against France. He was also, his French citizenship was withdrawn this summer. He's under sanction. He's really well known also by the US and the French for being funded directly by the Kremlin, and at this stage also by Evgeny Prigozhin. It is proven, even himself boasts about that. Some French journalists said he received 500,000 euro just to promote Russia in the Sahel, and he said no, it's far more. He was even boasting that no, you can't buy me for so few. So he received far more money for his job, and and in this this show, for example, he was talking. It was in 2020, so before the war, but we can see it was already all this kind of the hate speech was already active just before the war. It was a show about the where it's Genesis and perspective of the crisis. So he explained the story of the recent story of Ethiopia. He called Haile Selassie His Majesty, and he explained that the Amaro are the aristocrat of Africa. And after that, he had very, very insulting word for the Tigrayan. He had this expression, le m'as-tu vu de la caste tigrayenne, is the m'as-tu vu of the Tigrayan caste. He called them parvenus, or he chose this kind of word, and he said that you have the aristocracy, but you are, and you can't be noble if you are not, and kind of things like that. So. And he endorsed also the No More movement. We can also see that in Mali, the head of the mining syndicates, there was an article in ENA, Ethiopian National Agency, news agency, about him saying that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed should be the Prime Minister of all Africans, and we should fight for Pan-Africanism. We should fight against the West and against the Tigrayans. And you have also that. So something was born. This is history, honestly. Something was born to defend Nefson for the trial, and with a domino effect, honestly, it flushed on all Africa, and it became a part of Russian soft power on the continent. So probably thought Roman was not aware of what he was doing, but just wanted to save his own company. But finally, endorsing all this kind and all the bad, the bad frequentation and by the evil friends of Isaias finally was involved. And the same for Seamus Cornelis. I have a lot of examples. This awful article in the Radio Révolution Pan-Africaine about rape culture in Tigray. It was directly written by an Eritrean. It was an attack against Lucy Kassa and Meher Zagide. And you can find that in also a French-speaking outlet, maybe. And so we can see all the No More movement was really was endorsed by the Russian network. So it's we can document it now. And all that began with just with mining companies. So we say that they have huge and profound impacts on what goes going on in the Horn and their direct involvement in the genocide by fueling this hate speech.
Voilà. So a lot to digest, and very important, because we usually we talk about all these issues skin deep, just only on the surface. So this is important. So what is your take of in terms of when this was going? Like you said, it was before the war. What is the motive for targeting, let's say, Tigray? Is it some people say, I want to hear what your take is. Some people say it's ideological, because what the EPRDF, TPLF government was doing was this state-led development, maybe closing for not friendly for companies, international companies, and this kind of. And some say maybe it's related to, again, like you said, a bigger project of bringing these countries together and then exploit them. So what is your reading of this?
Yes, this I'm also referring a lot, especially quite recently, because of what's going on in Tigray. Because what I forgot to say. So when they sell all the share to the Chinese, so the board split. Todd Roman went to work at Danakali in the same position, just to whitewash what they are doing, and the board splits between Alpha Exploration, which is still in Eritrea, and Sunpeak, which is exploiting right now, or not exploiting, but they have the license for the Shire project. So they created this joint venture between 2018 and 2020, a joint venture between Sunpeak, which means Sun, and Ezana, which is a subsidiary of Effort, which is directly related to the TPLF. So my question is and was, who was aware of what at Ezana, at effort and the TPLF? Because I asked and I got no answer. Don't answer, and they say, oh, no, there is no problem. It's Nefson, so this is a problem. So they already have trials, and so they were not condemned. Maybe I just have to add that. So so they had appeals on appeals, and so the trial didn't go to an end. Till they sold everything to the Chinese, and finally the Chinese didn't want, because they knew they would lose. So they find a financial agreement with the plaintiffs, and they paid probably a lot just to have the peace, just to be, and but the Chinese paid. That means that the Nefson board was never condemned and never paid anything. So they were, so it's okay. But nevertheless, I don't know exactly. And I knew that the fighting inside the TPLF, probably there was something on this question of mining also. And I can see things, but I don't want, also, I'm working as an historian, so I'm investigating, but I don't want to mix too much in the political affair of the Tigrayan, of the Ethiopians, even the Eritreans. I don't want to say, just to say that Isaias is breached the human rights and committed most probably crime against humanity. It's not complicated, honestly. But yes, I don't want to mix too much in the political affairs, because I think this is to the population to handle that. But yes, my question is, were these companies planning just on a peaceful disappearance of the border, or kind of collaboration, or they were aware of an invasion of the Tigray and they were planning just to exploit Shire and also the potash in Afar, more, yes, questionable way? We will probably never know, and I don't want to assert anything because I don't want to have a trial. So yes, but that's a big issue, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that we know very little, on what's going on even now, right?
Yeah.
But the president of Tigray, the interim government, Getachew Reda, this week spoke with Dimtso Weyane and the Tigray television, and he specifically mentioned the specific areas in Tigray where there is this mining operation happening, and a lot of money transfer, even human trafficking, all that.
Yeah.
He specifically mentioned there is a group or more where they don't want peace to prevail in this area, because if peace prevails, there will be accountability and so on. So maybe for our viewers, I just want to share with them a couple of pictures here. This is Adugozomo, kind of before and after picture. Another slide is the same area, but just to the left of it. And this is 2021 February on the left, and the same area May 2023. You might not see it from there, but there is a clear significant increase in number of digging. I'm told this could be a diameter of 2 meters up to 3 meters everywhere. So if you pay attention to the tip, there were a number of mining sites there, but that has increased to the right of the river. There we see, and there were an investigative journalistic report as well from the VOA Tigrinya this week, the Voice of America. They did a very good job of asking people on the ground, TDF members. They also tried to reach the interim government and other involved parties who didn't want to talk to them, but they made it clear the environmental, the social, even the security of that region is now at a very, very high, high risk in terms of these armed
Yeah.
groups are involved,
Right.
and so on, and including, as Getachew Reda mentioned as well, the president, there are foreigners involved in this, either in the supply of chemicals or even, having their own mining operations. So my question to you is, I know you don't want to be, saying this and that in terms of the internal politics, but uh, what is your reading of where they started, let's say before 2018, before the the agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and where things are now, again, vis-a-vis the mining companies and the mining operations in the region?
Also, what I have to mention is that I give you a wide picture of the big mining company, but which are very visible on the international stage. But there is also all the question of small scale mining and smuggling, which I didn't mention here. It's another secret also. So there is this huge problem of transnational criminal activity. Also, we are in area where there is a lot of small scale miner and smuggler, and as you mentioned, there is they use this. So there is the miner directly, but after that, just to export and just to sell this gold. It enters very criminal networks who are active on the border of Sudan, Eritrea, and we didn't mention also the circuit of gold, because all the gold has to pass and go to Dubai. It's a very traditional way to sell the gold, because you can't just enter Dubai with gold in your hand luggage. There is no control, so you can just have them sold, and it enters the market. And once it is in Dubai, there are the biggest the refinery. They send that this gold, but this gold can't enter the international market because it is not certified. So this is very well known. We documented with Swiss aid. They send that to a refinery in Switzerland. It's kind of washing machine, and in Switzerland they are certified, and after that they can be sold to national banks, and so they can't do that from Dubai properly. But it's very, very easy in a way. It's quite dangerous, as we said, because they are not very recommendable people, the smuggler. But you can sell your gold quite easily in Dubai. So knowing all so you have this criminal network overlapping. You also have sesame. You have weapons. You have all this kind of. It is very volatile environment, and so it's quite difficult to investigate that. But as you mentioned, and what the president said, that yes, there are people who don't want any stability, and who don't take advantage of the chaos. So that's absolutely true.
You mentioned about I think it's a news for many, I would say, about how the no more movement, which was very vocal, as you know, as our viewers would remember as well. There was no chance even to when the Congress members of the US, some of them were calling for peace agreement, for negotiation. The no more movement was saying no. It was vocal everywhere and so on. So you mentioned about how the Russia connection and how French-speaking Western Africa medias were part of all that in the name of Pan-Africanism, all that and so on. So what happened? If you had a chance to follow that through, because as we know, the Ethiopian component of the no more, the more vocal activists are now anti-Abiy Ahmed,
Yes.
anti-Ethiopian government and so on. So did you follow how this was falling apart?
I didn't really follow, but I didn't, yes, assess that systematically. But yes, what I can say, yes, I can see, of course, but just most of the people, yeah, they are turning their back to Abiy Ahmed. And I don't want to say that they are involved in this kind of activity, and not especially the lobbies outside, for example, in the US. But we know that the people who were defending, and especially the Amara supremacists, are heavily involved in this kind of also smuggling, and that's also why I didn't enter in the detail. But they need Western Tigray for this kind of activity, So to keep the border with Sudan and to be directly connected to Eritrea. So now, yes, there are. We can say there are also they did not want some kind of peace, and we can see some people also saying that the authorities of Tigray now are just hand in hands with Abiy Ahmed, and they are denouncing that. Though, so I don't know if it was your question, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So one question, because there are very few people like me who were saying the war could have been avoided if the TPLF or Tigray authorities at that time, um, let's say, give gave recognition to Abiy as the king of kings of Ethiopia, because the reason we have is he doesn't care about anything, about sovereignty, about human rights, about people, about this territory, that territory. What he minds is he wants to be the supreme leader of
Mm.
Ethiopia. So I kind of argue saying, if the TPLF would say, yes, you are the king of kings of Ethiopia, he
Yeah.
might have not be part of this axis of war from Asmara to Mogadishu and UAE and so on. So, but from what you are outlining here, it looks like there was a big network that was leading to this. So what is your take on what I was arguing in terms of it was avoidable?
I don't know exactly, and I don't, in this plan, I don't want to play the conspirationist or of any kind, but it was already something was already on the way even before Abiy Ahmed came to power. So it was a kind of he was the right person at the right moment for them, and it was, I think, his ego was such that they can use him, and he used his kind of plan, but he was not. And we can see that right now with the argument of the Red Sea port, he's completely away. You still have the axis Amara, Eritrean is Somali, and now he's not in the plan. Abiy Ahmed is completely outside. So maybe, yes, maybe he has no allies. So maybe if yes, he could have what he wanted from the beginning, maybe it couldn't happen. But anyway, the peace with the, I don't say Eritrea, but I mean with Isaiah, I would have been complicated. Something would have happened, maybe in some years, maybe some years later or not. So honestly, the alliance between Amara and Eritrea was stronger than with Abiy. So it was maybe something. Maybe they couldn't trigger a war, a full-scale war, as we saw, but they were,
Yeah.
something would happen anyway.
Yeah, because I see your point. Because one of the things I was following as well after the war broke is what people were writing, at least from the Asmara side, from Shabia side,
Mhm.
from the PFDJ side. And there was a guy from Sweden. He's a very active member of their party. A month before the war broke, he wrote, how to diminish Tigray to a maximum of 1 million, even thinking of about, social engineering, saying in the border where Tigrinya speakers from both sides are, bring people who would, speak a different language and so on. So there are a very, detailed account of like even a post TPLF, the political organization of Tigray shouldn't be more than a small kind of religious group that meets in a church or in homesteads and so on. So my point is, Asmara, from what I saw, was in this plan for long, and it had all kinds of these justifications. And like you said, Bahardar, the seat of the Amhara regional state, again, Western Tigray, all that, they were, from art to everything, they were advocating for this. So, like you said, maybe Abiy came at the right time, at the right place, and that argument for self-rule, our own election, the constitution that was advocated from Magala was nonsense for him, and he joined this and so on. So, but it's a complicated, I think, like you mentioned. So, talking about Anna Gomez and Dalgacho Tsege, these people, especially Anna Gomez, I know we can mention as well the current Minister of Education of Ethiopia, Brahanu Nagga. So she was, as you know, the election observer for this.
Yes.
Then, but all went south, and she was advocating for anything against them.
Especially Meles. Yes. She had a personal hatred for him. So yeah.
And I think I kind of suspect that there was a Herald article. I don't know if you read that. Meles wrote it on the Ethiopian Herald.
Yes, sure.
Yeah,
kind of answer to her.
Exactly. And I think she took it extremely personal, and anyway, so what you see there, and how the European Union during the war was, let's say, reacting, especially, I forgot his name, Boris.
Joseph Borrell. Yes, Borrell.
Yeah, he was seeing the war for what it was. It was about, humanity. It was about people and so on. So, but there was still, they couldn't do a lot. So, what is your reading of the lobby of these companies and any actor, political leaders in Western Africa, or these activists and so on, their role in terms of delaying the peace, and all these crimes committed on civilians in Tigray?
Their direct involvement was yes, complicated to assess, but we had this kind of speech was, it was still seen at the, especially I can speak about France and Switzerland, for example. For the French, it was very complicated because I tried to speak to policymakers, and they always had this old view that they were always speaking about the TPLF rebel, the rebel, and they had this kind of, they were seeing that the Abiy government was trying to crush a terrorist group, something like that. They did not were aware. So what they made with the lobbies campaign, saying that all the Tigrayans were TPLF, for example, and they were just reaching the peace of this so successful country, which was Ethiopia. It succeeded quite a lot, but I can't say they were directly lobbying. I can say that, for example, on the other side, that Ana Gomez directly was directly lobbying against the EPRDF when it was EPRDF, but during the war, it was more complicated. I think there is, in what they succeed in a very more wider way, that the no more movement really succeed in the French and also the EU don't want to interfere in African affairs anymore. They say. So because they say, okay, no more interference. Okay, so we don't care for Africa and we don't care for the Tigrayan also. So because they don't want to interfere, because they knew that it would backfire in any case. And that's what our problem, because we wanted to we were answered that, okay, we see there is a problem, but we won't move because we can't only have a bad time. So in this way, the normal succeeded really well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And yes, the R2P or all this kind of notion that they succeed in the defending the idea of sovereignty. So no, it's just a civil war. We are dealing behind closed door and things.
Interesting. We are talking about this today on American Thanksgiving Day. And it reminded me of 3 years ago, this week, Feldman was in Addis. And in fact, 2 years ago, yeah. So when Feldman went to Addis, they felt they made a kind of diplomatic breakthrough. And the State Department actually contacted UMD Media. They wanted a diplomat from State Department to come to UMD Media, talk about this, what they call the diplomatic breakthrough. And it's interesting because I was saying, okay, that's fine, that's great. And when would you come? But they said, we can come on the Thanksgiving Day. I was surprised, in America, it's a big holiday. But then I gathered, I was told it was Ned Price, who was a spokesperson of the State Department. And I announced it as I announced your show, right? With you. And then, the whole No More movement burst, saying you should not go there. And, so the State Department, without telling me their reason, they said, can we do it tomorrow? Because he's busy now. And can we do the day after tomorrow? So they disappeared. But in few days, Feldman himself went to ISAT.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he went there and, he was explaining, and there was a midterm, election in the US. So we cannot underestimate what the normal movement was doing, in terms of US and all that.
I think, honestly, in the US, it's rather powerful. Yes. Yes, I detailed that also in my book of the kind of area lobbyists, and they have very noxious action. Even me, it was at the beginning of the war. They were looking for academics, and I was approached by the American Amara Association also, and I had a kind of hearing, and no, it was not interesting. And for them, apparently. So they were actively looking for people. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing is, the very sad thing is that, actually I had I saw, what was happening in Tigray and how they supported it with full force, and actually making fun of and mocking Tigrayans going on the street, drink snow, all that. So my reading at that time was reading. It's a PhD thesis from the Netherlands. So he's Van der Maat. His name is Van der Maat, a professor now. His PhD was on genocidal consolidation of power. And he outlined, all the genocides that happened, how the elite goes to attack the most powerful and the most external in this rivalry between them. And then they commit genocide, by bringing all people behind them, then to only go after the next target. So this was before the start of the Amhara war.
Mm.
And I brought this professor who had no idea about Tigray or Ethiopia, but he wanted to come. I mean, I brought him to talk about his, theory and so on. So just in a few months, the Abiy started war in Amhara as well. So the point is, from your reading of what has happening, what might happen as well with mining and the resource and these lobbyists, everywhere. In some cases, they use also academicians, like you said. So, what is your reading of what should happen? For example, Tigrans, because our topic, we titled it as extracting minerals, but also exacting justice. So what do you say about exacting justice in all these big, messy, muddy ocean of criminals?
So I can well, maybe the book could be useful for some survivor or family of victims to. I don't put my opinion, but just to find some people accountable. But I would more especially come back to the issues of survivor of weaponized rape. So, as I told you, we were preventing to have a legal action. We cannot find any prosecutor because during the war there were negotiations. The Abiy government knew that, so there is a kind of tacit agreement that we don't interfere in negotiation with the legal action just to give peace a chance. So okay, we were waiting, and after that there were negotiation, and after that there were the negotiation of the Pretoria Agreement. So okay, we can't set a legal action, and after that there was also the Pretoria Agreement where there was some promises of transitional justice. So the prosecutor told us, no, we can't say the case because there will be a domestic mechanism. And we see that 2 years after, nothing happened, really. And we have little chance, I think, to see justice to be deserved at the in the national stage. So I think now, what I was thinking, 2 years after, one way to deserve justice is that the so collective of victims should file a legal complaint under universal jurisdiction and find, for example, if there are binational or if there is victim on special jurisdiction in a foreign country, and try to individually at least already to set action. I think it must come from the civil society. This is my advice right now.
That's interesting. When you say civil society,
yes,
could they be in the diaspora? Because
yes,
this is
in the diaspora.
In the diaspora. So which countries can?
So it's a technique. I don't know the legislation of each country, because it depends. You can some country accept the universal jurisdiction when the plaintiff is citizen of the country or binational, or at least some member of the family, or when the criminal is a citizen of the. So I think maybe some people in the diaspora should organize themselves to find a way to prosecute someone, and just after that, as with an innocent trial, it can go bigger and begin as kind of societal issue also. So, but we just have to find the right person, the right plaintiff, the right country. But maybe now it could be feasible, I think.
Well, I mentioned, about this topic when the New Lines Institute
Yeah,
came.
it was excellent report.
Yeah, and we talked about with the director of the institute here, and one of my question was the same question we are discussing now. What are the chances and opportunities and so on. So this is for our, community leaders and civil society leaders to take on. I know there are people in Belgium and other countries who were considering this. I haven't followed that through, but I think it's very important and timely to do so before, another crime happens in the region.
In fact, it was our goal because I set up an NGO in France. It was a Swiss-French NGO. It was in 2021, and I had hoped to. Sorry, my dog's coming. No. To have yes, maybe to have the kind of electroshock, or just to have the war to stop. So maybe if someone is prosecuted and it shed light on what is happening now in Ethiopia and who should be accountable, and just to expose also the inaction of for example, Gedeon Timotheus, who didn't implement any justice, and he's now Minister of Foreign Affairs. So maybe the goal is just to serve justice for these precise victims, but also to prevent another
Exactly.
another cycle of violence. It could be maybe you need to stop somewhere.
Exactly. That's there is a very worrisome culture of immunity, impunity, like just perpetuating. You just take a break, 10 years, and another crime, and so on. So this was a culmination of crimes before it. Thank you so much, and I think myself and our viewers, we can't wait for your book. And you mentioned it might come 2025, so maybe first month, or you don't know yet? First month of 2025,
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Yes, that's my problem, because I'm looking forward. I know the topic interests people. There are more in the book, and maybe could be useful. So for some people, and to maybe to try to get the justice they deserve.
Exactly. And one last on backstage, we were talking about, I don't want to, your dog. I think he knew we should be done by now, right? Yeah. So on backstage, we were talking about how there is a lot of material in French which might not be as accessible and so on. Can you speak to that in terms of those who want to explore more on the mining, on the no more movement, on the Russian connection, all that? If you speak just briefly on that.
Yes, we were talking about that. The problem is just but of course, the French-speaking area of Africa, you have local experts on this area, and there is not interest in the Horn, and the people. This is considered as two different fields, but there is quite a lot of research about even on Ethiopia. I made my postdoctorate on a geographer called Antoine Dabadi. There are so many things. He's a French geographer who made the cartography of the Nile, and he traveled in Ethiopia, which are understudied, and that's maybe we have to share more. And there was also a lot of resource in quite ancient, also in Italian, but quite also more recently. And we have honestly to keep an eye of what's going on in both sides, because the French-speaking area, more English-speaking, but Ethiopia was not really English-speaking. But there is a lot of things to learn, and just to cut the whole from the other part of Africa or from the Near East is, yes, but that's the problem of academia nowadays. You have specialists on one field, and it's complicated, yes, to just go outside our own comfort zone area. So, but there is quite a lot of it's quite interesting.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And I am sure we will have another session on Kibra Nagast, King Solomon's, all that, but also your new book.
This is the spoiler alert. I am still working on gold. I think I will make an investigation of the Ezana's gold coins, and they were stolen. And so, speaking about heritage looting, still gold, and long story. So,
Exactly. Things don't happen just out of the blue, right? Okay, great. Charlotte Toati, for your time, researcher affiliated with the University of Lausanne and working on a number of important topics. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a really nice conversation. Always good. I'm really happy to come back. Thank you very much.
Okay. Have a good one. Bye. Our viewers been talking with Charlotte Toati, who is a researcher affiliated with the University of Lausanne, extracting minerals, exacting justice, Western mining companies in the Horn of Africa was our topic in relation to Tigray, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and the Horn of Africa. Thank you for following us. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. And those who are following us on satellite under Aksumawian TV in the Horn of Africa, please send us your feedback, your questions, and we'll continue to broadcast in Tigrinya, English, and Amharic as well. Have a good one. Bye.